hard work every day. Not a lazy mom, got no time to play. Always on the go, you stuck on the flow, but it's time for the show.
Welcome back to another season of the Not for Lazy Moms podcast. I'm so excited. We are coming to you virtually. And we're not just audible this year, we're actually visual too. I'm so excited. What's up, Aly? How have you been?
I'm good, hanging in, pretending there's not maybe wine in here, but I'm good. How are you guys?
Everything, we're doing great. I'm doing great. We're just maintaining, through COVID and, taking care of the family.
Yes. So I know it's been quite an interesting journey with the whole quarantine. How have you been surviving?
A lot of deep breaths, I feel like I've been baking so much that I'm glad that it's just from here up so that I don't have to actually put on real clothes. I'm scared to put on jeans. I don't know if y'all have worn jeans yet, but I'm scared for that day. So yeah.
Well, we actually stopped eating meat during this quarantine. So we took the opposite route. We've actually shed a few pounds.
A lot. I put about 20 pounds.
I seriously, I was going to say, I'm like, I don't know if it's the screen or what, but you guys look amazing.
Thank you. We've been doing a lot of family meditation. We've been doing a lot, which I love that we have this new season where we can talk about all of it. But one thing that we've definitely been doing to, I guess, just kind of like diffuse at night and just kind of relax and wind down. You see, our wine rack is like almost empty.
Yes, I do.
We have 2 bottles of Primus left. So it's been quite an adventure, but I'm really excited about today's episode. We're going to be talking about kids are people. And it's interesting to me because I was sort of raised in a house where we were taught to be independent and we were taught that it was okay to speak our minds. And Chris, talk about your growing up.
She just throwing shade on me.
No, it's real.
I'm the baby out of 4 boys. So a lot of those days were easy for me because my older brothers pretty much did it for me. So that's why I was a little bit late getting stuff done as far as, handling my own business, as far as being independent. But eventually I got it because my mom was like, enough's enough. He needs to grow up.
Right. But more so than that, I'm talking about just from the aspect of like in my house, we're very mouthy. We were taught that it's okay to talk and speak and be vocal. And Chris had the opposite. So we had to learn how to balance each other in our relationship, but then also in our parenting.
Yeah, that's true. In my house, you pretty much couldn't be vocal. Whatever the parent said, that was it. You couldn't express yourselves, whether you were right or wrong. You had to just shut up and take it pretty much.
What about you, Aly?
I mean, the same with Chris. It kind of was that situation, but there was also a lot of just you either got in trouble or nobody spoke of it. And I really couldn't stand up for myself or, like you said, Chris, defend myself in those situations. Right. So honestly, I've learned so much from parenting because I feel like you can either repeat the past and repeat how you were raised or look at how you were raised and be like, I do not want to be like that. I need to shift something. So, that's kind of what I've done.
Yeah. I totally agree. But, at the end of the day, like, with Monique and me, we both kind of had to find the middle ground on raising our kids. And I think that's the best way.
Yeah. And some of the questions we're going to tackle today for everyone listening. Are you the parent that barks orders to your children? Do you think that your child is less than simply because of their age? And do you keep it real with your child when they're coming to you asking questions? And then I want to even talk about when keeping it real goes wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That tends to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I guess we'll start out just talking about the fact that with my kids, since they were babies, I just felt like they were able to grasp everything. I felt like when they looked at me and when they were watching me, they were getting their firsthand example of how to be, how to communicate, how to handle things. And one thing that I always love as one of my little tricks is as soon as they're able to like sit up and they're able to move around and do stuff, I give them a job. Like when I'm doing laundry, I'm like, here, help me fold. And they'll sit there and just make a ball out of a shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
Plays them anyway.
Right. They feel like they're really doing something and they feel like they're helping. And I feel like that is teaching their mind that, oh, I can do what mommy's doing. I can do what daddy's doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it teaches them, as you, like that sense of independency where then they're getting excited to do chores. I mean, who doesn't want that? I feel like I coddled my first so much, and I don't know if you did too, but like then I kind of shifted and started treating my kids like people. Once I had my second, I'm like, you guys good? Like, I don't even know where the baby is right now. He's probably like, doing his own laundry, sweeping the floors. Like, I have no idea. It's like, it comes to a point where you're like, you realize that they are little people and, it's okay. They're fine. Yeah.
I think my parenting style was almost taking that kind of Montessori approach where they are learning and they're learning how to almost be like a little adult. And I'm treating them like a little adult. I have conversations with them. I've never baby talked my kids. Never. I felt like every time they looked at me, they're watching my mouth. They're watching how my lips are moving. I do feel like my kids were speaking so very well at such a young age. Now, Chase, on the other hand, I don't know what's going on with caveman Chase. We call him the caveman out here. Everything is like barking and just like one word orders. Like if he has like a little water gun, I shoot. I'm like, okay, yes. He is hilarious. Everything is a fish, that. This, where Christopher and Milani, they were using complete sentences like very early. So, and maybe it's because he's the baby.
Probably. Yeah, he's taking my approach. I was the baby, so it is what it is.
Right. But I feel like you're bringing up such a good point because it's so easy for us to compare our kids, and for me, my first Sam, he's already reading and he's not even in kindergarten. He's taught himself how to read and he's reading on his own. Whereas my second, he's like apple, ball, and Nana, and that's about it. And I'm like, all right. But it's so hard to not compare and to do.
It is. And it what I love about being a parent is that when I think I had it figured out, here comes that next one that is teaching me something totally new, totally different. And I realize once again that I have to adapt to this child. And they are little people. And I don't treat them in such a way where what they say doesn't matter just because they're young. I want them to feel free to express whatever it is that they feel. Tell me about your day. Tell me about how you feel about this. If you're frustrated, what does that feel like? Okay, so now how can we fix it? And I don't want them speaking so long as they do it in a respectful way, in a respectful tone.
Yeah, you know what? I totally agree with that because it's at times, the kids might get to fighting, but amongst themselves, and I'm frustrated and I'm upset, and and they're trying to explain what happened, and I'm just like, just shut up. But then I have to catch myself and actually calm down and let them express themselves, explain what happened. Then maybe I'll even find out that particular kid wasn't even wrong. Yeah,
Milani does that all the time. She is the one who will do something like shady, and then she'll come back. Christopher did this. So my first question is always, because I know her, my first question is always, well, what led up to that? And now I was taking this toy and I was throwing it over there. Well, Milani, you can't do that. Like, you can't get mad at his response to something that you did, because that's not fair. And now we're able to sit down and figure things out. Now, Christopher, he is my little truth teller. He will tell you the truth even when he's wrong, and you can tell with his body language when he knows it's his fault. But I give him credit because he'll still tell me what he did. Milani, little slickster, Chase, he's still young, so Chase, he gets upset when you tell him that wasn't right. He's like, how dare you correct me?
Can you?
Yes,
right.
Yes. So you were about to say something.
No, I think you're bringing up a good point though about, to them, when kids fight, it's so easy to be like, you know what? No, you go over there, you go over there. But I think great advice is remembering, look, this fight may seem absolutely ridiculous to us. It could be over, you got the green toy and you wanted the green toy, whatever it is. But to them, they're people. And it is important for us to have them, you know, even though we bite our tongues and we just want to be like, please just stop talking. To hear them out and to have them talk through their feelings, because that's a way for them to navigate their feelings and to teach them how to express themselves.
Yes. And you know, one thing that we do a lot, we always let them know that mommy and daddy go through this too. So we're like, okay, if mommy and daddy, you see sometimes mommy and daddy having a disagreement, how would it make you feel if daddy took his toy and threw it at me? That's good for you to throw it at. Do you see daddy doing that to me? No. You see me and daddy sit down and we talk about it and then we apologize for whoever was wrong and we move on. So being that example sometimes in putting ourselves into the situation, I notice with our kids goes a long way. Because then they realize that, okay, mommy and daddy aren't superheroes. They're emotionally in tune, just like us. And they're able to handle their emotions and control themselves. Then it's possible for us too.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
Yeah, but before you move on, though, a small percentage of the time, you do have to tell them to just shut up and let them know that you're still a parent and you got to lay down the law.
I mean, that is true. And I feel like there's also a fine line of letting them know, like, hey, this is a little, you know, a big thing versus a little thing. And you don't really need to get so upset over a little thing. It's not like you're being condescending or talking down to them or anything. You're kind of helping them. You don't need to flip out and have this crazy reaction over that, you know? Yeah.
And it also helps them to learn how to manage their emotions.
I knew this was going to happen.
T'Challa is like, I have entered the chat.
Hey, I have my arm around Monique trying to be all romantic on this, but let me move my arm because he will poop on you.
Wow. Wait, Chris, does he not like you?
Chris doesn't like him.
I don't like him.
He just gives him the same energy that he gives Chris, that Chris gives him. But no, he poops on command. And for the most part, he does a good job of getting off of me when he needs to go. And he's like so into it right now. Say hi to the people.
He's like a baby. Every now and then, you know, when you're potty training them, they have an accident.
Right. But he's like, I'm a person. I'm a person too.
He's never pooped on me because I don't fool with him.
Right. Chris is like he's not the animal person at all. And the only reason we even got a bird is because he had birds when he was younger. Yeah, and he thought that it would be the same situation with this bird. And he realized
just lock him in the cage and feed him and give him water. That's easy.
T'Challa is never caged unless it's bedtime.
Have you
free all day?
Chris, what did you expect? You know Monique. She like brought beer inside your house and like brought him back to health.
And you know what's crazy? She wants another one and she wants a dog. So I don't know what I'm gonna do over here. Maybe I'll just be a dog and just walk around the bar.
My goal is for us to have a semi-zoo. It's like
amazing.
I love animals. I do. But okay, so now T'Challa's in there saying his own name. So if y'all hear anything in the background, I apologize. But my bird, he thinks that he's supposed to be involved in everything because he thinks he's a person. So excuse T'Challa, y'all.
That's why Chase is barking. Chase is like trying to find his voice over T'Challa.
Oh my goodness, they both
compete for attention too.
They both mimic each other. So Chase will make these high-pitched sounds, and then T'Challa will copy it. And I think T'Challa is learning curse words because of Chase. Chase has a tongue tie. So he has a hard time pronouncing things. So when he says beach, he'll be like, Mommy, beach. He's saying the other word. He's saying the B word. Chase.
And if he says fart, he says the other word.
Yes, he says the F-bomb all the time. He'll be like, I F. And I'm like, no, you fart. Say fart.
And the other kids just crack up and laugh.
They think it's so funny. Chase, stop saying that. And they're laughing the whole time. But yes. So one thing that I do love about how we're raising our kids now compared to how we were raised. Like you said, some things you'll do similar, some things you'll do different. We were told no a lot in my house. And sometimes we didn't get an explanation. And, you know, I'll explain to my kids if I'm telling them no. And I also, what's similar is that we were raised to speak our minds, to, you know, not just because we're talking to an adult doesn't mean that we have to shut up and be quiet. We just need to do it in a respectful way. So, and I mean, growing up in church, everybody in my church knew that. So they'd be like, them Cox girls, they gonna let you know what they thinking. Because that's my maiden name. So they would know that my dad was like, pretty much, no, you're not going to talk down to my kids. They're people. You're not going to play on their need to feel like they can
have
speak.
To respect
and
an adult.
Yeah, it's like you can still respect the adult, but respecting you doesn't mean I'm going to let you talk to me any kind of way and walk all over me.
Right.
So I do the same with my kids, and I feel like because of it, they are very confident. Like they can speak to an adult, they can speak to a child, and they know how to address them. They know how to make their presence known. They know how to express themselves, and it goes a long way. No person is going to come over to my child and say something out of pocket without my child being like, "Oh, I'm going to tell my mommy what you just said." Like, yeah.
No, and that's so important. I absolutely agree. And it actually took, I feel like quarantine and this whole COVID thing kind of shifted our parenting a little bit. We were saying no a little bit more pre-quarantine and maybe being a little too strict with certain things and not really giving explanations. And then quarantine, we realized, you know what? Let's just say no. I don't know. I feel like the good thing that's come out of it is we've all started to like slow down a bit and say no less, kind of let our kids figure it out themselves.
Yep.
As long as they're not getting hurt or doing something, really wrong.
Yeah.
I don't really need to say no.
What I love to do is to give another option.
Yeah.
So if they're playing with something that I'm like, whoa, that's a hazard, especially with Chase, because he's the youngest. So if he picks up a pair of scissors, I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay. Let me get these scissors out his hand, but let me have something to give him like a trade-off.
Yep.
So I like take the scissors as I'm showing him something else. I'm like, look, wow, isn't this cool? And it totally fools him. He'll be focused on the new thing and doesn't even realize that I just took something that could be a hazard away from him. So now I don't have to deal with him breaking down, throwing a tantrum, laying all over the floor. He throws silent tantrums. And I've posted this on my Instagram before. Chase would just lay there. And it's the funniest thing. He'll get down on the floor, gently lay down, and he'll just lay there. So that's the way he protests when he's upset.
Wow.
But yeah, giving that other option a lot of times. So this way you can even explain with the older kids, like, this is why I don't want you playing with this, because this can happen. And how about you use this? And then they understand, like, oh, okay, mommy's not just telling me no just to say it. She's actually being protective and making sure that I'm safe and I'm okay.
Well, and also giving them an option kind of encourages, again, their independence, because they're making the decision on their own, right? So they're saying, you know what? Okay, maybe that's not a good idea. I'll choose this instead. And they think they're doing it on their own, but even though you're kind of coaching them along the way, but it's that little boost they need.
Yep. I do that with clothes. So teaching them how to like make an outfit. I'll already have a pre-selected range of things for them to choose from. And then when they make their choice, I've already predetermined the options, but because they're saying, oh, I have this set that I can choose from, and I'm choosing this, that, or the other, it still reinforces that whole mindset that you are creating whatever it is that you desire for yourself. So there's different ways to really come up with crafty little tricks where you're still being the parent and creating whatever situation, and then they're choosing it as the child, and they're feeling like they're being so independent.
I got to do a little bit better at that then, because a lot of times I'm just trying to get them dressed, get them out of the house. I pick it out. No, you're wearing this and we're out, so I got to tighten up in that area. Yeah.
And also you like to just do it for them a lot. And I'm always on him like, Chris, stop babying them. Let them do it themselves.
I tend to do that.
Chase, since he started walking, he knows how to go to the cabinet, open it up, get his bowl when he wants a snack. So if he tells me, Mommy, y'all want snack, Mommy, snack. Well, he doesn't Chase language. Snack. Mommy, snack, snack. I'm like, okay, go get your bowl. He doesn't speak as well as the other two did, but his understanding,
right? He understands what
my goodness. Really, he is very sharp and has been that way since he was a baby. This little boy, he's on another level with his understanding. So I'm like, go ahead, get your bowl, get your spoon. He'll open up the cabinet, grab his bowl, grab his spoon, he'll close it, and then he'll bring it to me. And then I'm like, okay, what snack do you want? He'll go to the snack drawer, he'll open it up, he'll look in there, he'll pick out his snack and bring it back to me. I'll pour it in, and then I give him the bowl and I say, all right, go find a spot so you can sit down and eat. And he'll carry his bowl and walk around and look where he wants to go. He'll sit down and he'll sit there and just mind his own business and enjoy his little snack.
All
and
right.
that's, now he knows, like, okay, I can have whatever I want so long as I get what I need on my own. And then I'm asking mommy, or daddy.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you do though when, we're talking about kids are people and all that, but when it comes to talking to your kids about the tough topics, the ones when they ask questions, whatever, the conversations you don't want to have, basically, how do you navigate that?
So that's when keeping it real goes wrong. Well, we've had that happen quite a bit. So most recently, anyone who watches Real Housewives of Potomac, they know that I was involved in a physical altercation. So the fact that this is going to be televised and my kids are ear hustlers and they're nosy, they understood that mommy was involved in a fight. So I had to, along with my husband, we had to sit down and explain to them what happened. I went through every detail. I explained why I reacted the way I did. I explained how that made me feel afterward. And even in the future, we had talks again. My son, Christopher, my oldest, he immediately went into protective mode. So he was more so just like, oh my God, mommy, where are you going? He took on some of the stress that felt weighing on me. So I had to sit down with him one day and I just said, Christopher, you don't have to worry. Mommy's okay. Mommy's safe, and I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, I'm stressed because you're stressed. And he just broke down.
He's the emotional one.
Yeah. He is. So I had to explain to him that, that's not a weight that you have to worry about. Mommy is okay. Gave him a big hug. And after that, he was good. Milani, on the other hand, my little, she's just like me. She will turn something that is negative into a joke real quick. So, homegirl, I was in the kitchen one day and I'm telling Chase to stop doing something. And I'm like, Chase, you need to put that down. You're going to get in trouble. Chase, stop doing that. And she's sitting there at the counter. I think she was coloring, minding her little business. But then she jumps in the conversation. What you going to do? What you going to do? You going to drag me? Milani, where'd you get that from? And she's like, well, when you got into the fight, I was like, oh my God.
She pay attention to everything. And you think they're not,
Oh.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Let that be a lesson in itself. When you think you're not paying attention, remember that your kids are people.
Yes.
And all up in the mix and they are listening and paying attention to everything.
Oh yeah. We just had the conversation about death with my son Sam, who's almost 5, because he keeps asking about where my dad is. And so finally I read somewhere just to be honest, right? Just to flat out say what it is. And so I was like, well, he died.
Oh.
Wait, so he's not alive? Wait, how did he die? And I'm like, well, and so it's like one of those things that just went completely wrong where I'm like, he was sick. He was like, oh, so when you're sick, you die. And it was just this whole awful conversation where I really scared him. And so I guess my only tip in this is to do your research maybe before you have those conversations, because I didn't know what I was getting into. I just thought I'd say he died and we moved on. And he has now asked so many questions about
Wow.
Like, oh yeah. So does everybody who gets sick, do they die? At what age do people die? I mean, all these morbid questions that I'm like, okay, can we just play with Legos? Can we please just color a book right now? I just,
Wow.
do your research. Yes.
Right.
Yes. And there's so many websites and things out there that give you different approaches so you can avoid stuff like that. And to this day, my son is still trying to figure out how Chase came out of me. And I will not have that conversation with him just yet. he is just like, and then he gives me this look that he knows what I'm saying doesn't make any sense. He knows I'm not giving him the full story, but he's 7. And I'm just like, dude, like he doesn't even know about the birds and the bees yet. So how do I explain to him how a baby comes out? So I was like, well, I said I had to push him out. He said, yeah, but push him out from where? I said, well, he came out of my stomach, but you don't have any cuts in your stomach. Did the doctor have to open your stomach? I'm like, no. I was like, Christopher, and then I'll just change the subject. And he just looks at me so puzzled, like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this one day. And I'm like, not today.
No, not today. Yes. I remember Sam one time was like, oh, is there like a hole that forms that like the baby comes out of? And Matt was like, my husband was like, just say yes and move on. Like, just
right. Sometimes you probably have to do that just to get through it for that moment,
What are you going to do? How are you going to explain it to him? We had a recent.
When he's about 15, then I can explain everything. No,
well,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
Chris had to sit down and have not a tough conversation, but he had to have a conversation with Christopher because he's getting older and he's waking up in the morning, and we know what happens for men when they wake up, and he thought something was wrong with him.
It was freaking him out.
I was like, talk to daddy.
Even in the bathtub, he was like, my penis is floating, look at yes. And Monique was like, you need to handle it. You need to handle it. So finally, I sat down with them and I talked to him. I said, it's perfectly normal. It's natural. That's the way God made you. Every now and then it'll do that, but then it'll go back to normal. And I said, Daddy's does it as well. Just not as often as it used to.
What you mean not as often?
Older. When I was younger, it would be like that every morning.
Wait,
I'm getting older.
Oh, you mean in the morning?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait.
Oh, I thought, yeah.
You see where she's at. Hey, normally my mind's in the gutter.
Yeah.
Her mind's in the gutter now.
You gotta clarify those kinds of statements, people.
I'm 43 years old. It's a natural thing. You're not gonna be like you were when you were a young man.
In the morning. You have to add that on.
Right.
I'm thinking that you got to take things to, we ain't that.
Only when I want to be Superman, I'll sneak one in. No, I'm kidding.
Whatever.
The man of steel.
Look, if he ever is walking around here stiff for 10 hours, I'm going to know he took something. I hear that Viagra stuff. It backfires. It backfires. You can't be playing around with stuff like that. We don't need nothing stiff for 10 hours around here.
No, if you don't need it, don't use it. But after I had that conversation with him on a serious note, he actually calmed down. He hadn't talked about it since.
Yeah. I just didn't want him to think something was wrong with him.
Right. And I think that your explanation was perfect. I love, Monique, that you were like, handle it. And it was great.
I don't have one of those. I cannot relate. Sorry. Like, Daddy, talk to him.
And then
deal with your own questions with Milani, I'm sure.
Right. I was just about to say, when Milani comes of age, I'm going to like, go talk to mommy. And then I'll handle Chase on the back end when he gets a little older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She already walked in the bathroom on me once. And she's like, Mommy, so when I get older, I'm going to have hair on my head and on my vagina. I'm like, Milani, I'm like, get out of the bathroom. Thank you very much. You can leave. Oh my God, she's so observant. I'm like, geez, Lord, she's getting at that age. So I had to go down and talk to her and say, well, when you reach a certain age, things happen. I said, you're going to get hair in your armpits too. She's like, ew, in my armpits? I'm like, yeah. I said, it tends to grow everywhere. Yes. So, having those age appropriate conversations are a must. And a lot of times, I think people also need to look at the maturity level of their child, because sometimes I forget how old Christopher is because he's so big. I mean, he's almost my height and he's 7. I'm 5'7", and he's literally, his head's at my chin now when I stand up. So sometimes when he is very mature, he'll have those moments where he's acting like a 7-year-old, and it kind of catches me off guard. And then I have to remember, like, wait, he's just 7. So although he is mature in some areas, he does have his moments where he becomes that whiny 7-year-old or that antsy, energetic 7-year-old. And I have to just grab him and hug him and just say, yo, you're tripping. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like, I think that's one of my biggest struggles with Sam, because he is so mature and he's so vocal and he's so expressive that when he has those moments in his temper tantrums, I'm like, I forget that I'm and we will have like full on arguments. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. You're 4.5. I need to remind myself this because I can't get so deep in these arguments with you. You know, it's hard. But at the end of the day, I think about it like I'm 35 and I have some temper tantrums myself. Like, I don't think we fully ever get past having a temper tantrum. Like, I have my emotional, dramatic days too over nothing.
And we just learn as we grow how to handle it, you know, in a better way. And I tell my kids all the time when they get frustrated or if they're feeling emotional, it's nothing wrong with what you're feeling. What you're feeling is normal. It's just how do you now handle those feelings? So teaching healthy outlets. For my son, Christopher, I recognize that meditation is something that really helps him. So whenever he's getting frustrated with his schoolwork, I'll tell him, just go sit down and meditate. And he'll go upstairs to his room and he'll come back down and he's like, Mommy, I meditated for 5 minutes and I feel so much better.
Wow.
That worked for him. For Milani, it doesn't work. Milani is such a lover. She's so emotional. I just have to give her a hug. And I just squeeze her and just sit her in my lap and let her feel like the baby once again. Because she's the middle child, I can relate. I'm also a middle child. So I get what she's feeling. And now I'm more in tune with what she needs. And that is a huge part of recognizing that your kids are people just like any other person. Everyone has different ways of expressing themselves and everyone needs something different. I can't treat all 3 of my kids the same way because they're unique and they're all different. What works on one doesn't always work on the other. And it teaches me that I have to be more flexible as a mom and even for Chris as a dad. One thing that I tell him all the time especially with baby Chase, I'm like, switch it up. If he starts fussing and acting crazy, either he's hungry, he's tired, or he just wants something else to do. So just introduce something else to him. It's like a huge cycle that you go in throughout the day. But once you start realizing their rhythm and their pattern, they're a lot easier to deal with, really.
Yeah, that's just like the other day I had Chase upstairs and he was showing out. I mean, he's throwing stuff, kicking, screaming. I'm trying to hug him and he won't, I can't even restrain him. So finally I said, all right, let's get the clothes on. Let's go outside. And he was perfectly fine after that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's kind of like trial and error. You just got to figure out what works.
Right.
Yeah. And in the midst of it all, trying to find their rhythm. And then you're trying to do your work, especially with the quarantine. People are working from home now. It is a struggle. It's not easy, but it's doable. I know with my kids, if I have something to do or I'm sitting down typing, I give them their iPad and they can type. They'll start typing their name or just give them a notebook with a marker or crayon. All right, let's practice writing your name. Let's practice. So now we're all sitting there together, but we're all doing something. I'm able to get work done. And then they're occupied for, fingers crossed, 20 minutes.
Right. And one thing Monique will check me on, because I tend to do this, a lot of times I try to do what's more convenient for me. I might not feel like, getting them dressed. I might not feel like going outside and playing with them, but at the end of the day, they didn't ask to come here. We chose to make the kids, so we have to adapt and step up and, get things done for them.
Yeah. It's just not fair when they get yelled at because they're bored or they're antsy and they just are a big bottle of energy. I wish we could bottle that up and sell it. We would be like billionaires right now.
Seriously.
But with them, it's just realizing that sometimes when they start arguing with each other, if we're not crafting an activity for them, whose fault really is it? It's kind of like our fault. Let me think of something else that we can do together, and then they're happy again.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. So I think one of the things that we want to talk about is some different tips. We always do tip sharing with our podcast. If you've never listened to Not for Lazy Moms podcast before, I would suggest you go back to season 1 and you're just going to laugh the whole time because we give you the real, but we do it in such a way where you don't feel bad about yourself and you can laugh at us if you feel like laughing at us and it's fine. But one of my tips for this particular topic is don't limit your child because they do understand more than what you think. So we have to make sure that as they're growing, we're growing with our understanding with them. And then another tip that I would give is letting them do what we do to a certain extent. I'm not saying if you're having a glass of wine, give your child a glass of wine.
Sometimes they might need a glass.
No, what I think is you're a mess.
That was a joke.
What I think is, for instance, during the summertime, I love to have a little champagne with a splash of grenadine.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids will be like, Mommy, what are you drinking? I'm like, oh, I'm having grown-up juice. Well, what's that you put in there? Oh, grenadine. Can we have some of that in our lemonade? Sure. So I put a little splash of grenadine inside their lemonade, give them a straw. And now we're all sitting outside having they're having their little mocktail. I'm having my little cocktail and everybody's happy, So just letting them do what you do. If you're doing chores around the house, let them help. They might make a bigger mess, but they're happy. And you can get some things accomplished too. Aly, did you have any tips?
I think one of mine is to speak to your child how you want them to speak to others, and it's easier said than done, but come from a place with, if anything, becoming a parent has taught me to have a lot of patience, and also show them empathy and how to have empathy towards others. I think that's just such an important trait to have. And then as we've talked about, just helping them talk through and navigate their feelings. Don't minimize them, help them express themselves.
Yes. The worst thing you can do is make a child bottle up pure emotion, which all of us, we're emotional people. We all experience frustration. And if you make that child bottle that up constantly and not express themselves, they're going to go crazy.
They're going to have a blow up.
Yeah, they're going to explode.
Meltdown.
Yes. And we see how we have explosions and meltdowns as adults. So the better that we can express that with them and teach them at a younger age, they can avoid some of the things that we go through. So I definitely agree with that. Does anybody have any confession?
I have a tip.
Oh, you have a tip?
Yeah, I have a tip too.
Oh, okay.
Tip drill.
Oh, no, we don't need that type of tip.
No. So we talked about it a little bit earlier, but my biggest tip is, like we said before, don't compare each kid. Every kid is different. Mm-hmm. That can frustrate another kid, the other kid, if you're always comparing as well. Christopher did this, Christopher did that. Milana, you should be reading at this level. That's not fair to the child.
Right.
And also, too, don't compare them to where you were at that particular age.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, when I was 7, I was reading this book and that book. That can frustrate the child as well. Everybody's different. So just be patient with them. Mm-hmm. We have to adapt and have different strategies how to, basically take care of each kid.
Yeah. And I think also sometimes the comparison to yourself can be done in a positive way.
Right.
So for instance, we always teach our kids to wash themselves, even Chase. Like you get the washcloth and you do what you can, and then we come behind and do the real wash. But when they were a little younger, I had to explain to Christopher, I was like, Christopher, when I was your age, I was taking baths and showering myself on my own. That was what my parents taught us to do. So, and he was amazed. He said, really? And I was like, yeah. And I told him some of the things that we did when I was his age. And that actually encouraged him to do more for himself. Right. So in that manner, it was actually more positive, and he felt like, oh, wow, okay, I can do more for myself and I don't have to depend on y'all so much. Now he's to the point where he'll wake up in the morning and he'll come to our room. Can I go downstairs? And we'll say, go ahead. He comes downstairs. He gets himself a bowl of grapes. He pours his orange juice and he'll sit there and wait for us to get up fully so that we can make breakfast. So now he's becoming more independent because I started telling him, like, dude, when I was your age, I was not going to my parents' room, bugging them, asking them to get up, and
he would be flipping around and he's trying to wake us up, trying to wake the baby up and all of that. So I'm so thankful that, he was challenged to go downstairs, and now he's like a little man, he handles his own business.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Any confessions? Kids are people. Let's see. You have any confessions?
No.
I guess I can confess that sometimes I am guilty of maybe putting too much expectation on them because I know what they're capable of. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I need to respect the fact that they are still young. And although I take an adult-like approach with them, they're still children. And I do want them to enjoy being a child. It's such a short window. So sometimes I do have to pull myself back and just say, wait, pause. They're still kids. Like, it's okay if they didn't do it perfectly.
Yeah. You know what? Going off that, like, to me, there's the tip in there also is acknowledging when you are wrong and you need to pause. One of the things I've been doing with Sam is telling him, calling myself out for my flaws when I have my irrational reaction to something, or I put pressure on him or have these high expectations. I am like, you know what? I am so sorry. That was not right of me. Because I feel like, again, teaching them how to apologize and how to recognize when you are wrong, that's another way to help them kind of do that for themselves.
Yes.
I think that's a great tip because I do that a lot of times. I'll tell my kids, listen, daddy gets frustrated. Sometimes I get mad. I might yell at mommy, or I might do something or say something that I regret. I said, but the most important thing is you follow up with an apology.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we try to tell them that we are people and we have emotions too. And if they do something that hurts my feelings, I tell them like, that really hurt my feelings when you said that, and then they're like, oh, sorry, mommy, it's cute. But I'm really looking forward to this season 3 of our podcast. We've been doing so well. We thank everyone for the support. Make sure you visit our website at www.notforlazymoms.com. Follow us on social media on Instagram, Not for Lazy Moms, on Twitter and Facebook. And check out some of the new things we have in our shop. We have an online store now that features my potty training book, Potty Training Mommy and Daddy. It's a guide for introducing infant potty training as early as 6 months old. So you definitely want to grab that in paperback, hardback, or on Kindle. You get the electronic version. And we have all kinds of Not for Lazy Moms swag. So we thank everyone who has been following us and supporting us throughout every season of our podcast and online in our community. Make sure you sign up. We're going to be doing some really fun things in the future, and we don't want you to miss out. So y'all take care until the next episode. Y'all enjoy your week.